Okay, I think that was the problem because of anyway, now it's fine. So I was talking about different things, right, or the training for these commandos which we can consider. So no doubt we are having always a specialized training we can consider about this. Apart from these, basically we have to always consider some of the things which are really necessary in team commando or making the specialized force, right, which you can consider. Yes, sir. Okay. This is not sufficient. Many a times you have to always look into, right? And why? Because the details are always in details, right? So details are always in these different things which you can consider, right? So as I said, officially Marine Commandos, right? Marcos was known as, rather is known as Marine Commando Force. Let's say Marine Commando Force, which is a special force unit of obviously Indian Navy. So when it was created, it was established in 1987. In fact, it was established long back in 1971, and uh, we did fight the war with Pakistan, right? But at that time, it was simply known as a kind of force or one of the uh, intelligence, as paras were also known as the intelligence force, right? But in actually in 1980, it got a the it has got the clearance of being a specialized force, right? And obviously it was 1987, which has when it was become the actual special force of Indian Navy. So Marcos are capable of undertaking operations in all the terrains, but specialized in the maritime operations. In one of the previous question papers, the question was asked about Marcos are specialized in which of the following. So the options were there: maritime operations, option A. Option B is all type of terrain. Then option C is at sea only, and option next option is all of the above, right? All of the above, which you can. Sorry, I think option C was not only C only. I think at the coastal side only, right? Kind of thing. So here operation is they are specialized in maritime. See, question was consisting of a word called specialized, and therefore you have to be always careful about it. Right? So specialized in maritime operations. So the force has always undertaken the numerous joint exercises. So this will be one of the points which we'll be seeing out in some other next sessions. The joint exercises of all these special forces, or not only special forces but also armed forces with some other armed forces of other countries, right? So likewise, one armed force is having a collaboration with, for example, we are doing some practice in fact Indian Army is doing some practice or exercise with the Russian Army. Likewise, the special forces are also doing kind of special force exercises, right? So here you can consider, and obviously for India, and it is belonging to Navy, right? Therefore these two things, and obviously I had put its insignia in the very first or second slide, so there you can consider. Otherwise I could have put it in the same. So Marcos are also known as Magarmach. They are like crocodiles, right? So they are known as crocodiles. They are actually doing that kind of particular thing. So in the Operation Pawan, the Marcos have dived 12 kilometers to enter into Sri Lanka, right? Because Littes were fighting, and every way touching to the land right, was watched by Littes, and it has to be rescued. So Marcos have uh, dived, right? So they have gone through the water, right? So that is the case what we can consider. It is, they are also known as Dadiwala Fauj, a beard army, right? So through two different aspects, right? So Magarmach and Dadiwala Fauj. So always keep in mind these two things, which are also the point of, these can be point of question. Their motto is the few, the fearless. The few, the fearless. Right? You might have heard about uh, climbing different mountains. Right? If someone is bored with this one, I suggest not to attend the session. You may, right, do your another kind of stuff. Right? Otherwise, don't write anything on the screen. So motto, the few, the fearless. I was talking about climbing a kind of mountain. You know, you have to be fearless. And you know how many get climbed to the mountain? Very few, right? Unless and until you are fearless, right? So you should not have a fear of fear, right? Fear of fear is not also allowed in that particular case. Then and then you will be always going for that, right? So if you see a kind of training, what kind of training they are receiving, so at that time you will always coming to know what exactly meaning of this particular motto, that is few, fearless. Currently they are having their headquarters at Visakhapatnam and using an INS Karna. They're very recently, I think in 2016, they have established their special headquarters at INS Karna. So apart from that particular let's say base or headquarters, currently Marcos are being operated from different bases, which are at Mumbai, Visakhapatnam, Goa, Kochi, and Port Blair. So the naval base, basically what the what I talk about, the INS Karna as the headquarters. Right? So it was commissioned near Visakhapatnam as a permanent base for the unit. But now they are also thinking, and very soon they will be shifting it to Goa. So new base, permanent base is being probably the discussions are going on that we will be having another base for that. So you will be having two branches now in that particular case. One will be at Visakhapatnam, another will be at Goa. Very soon they are going to do that particular thing. Otherwise, they will be shifting it from Visakhapatnam to Goa. So, you know, in Marcos, from the Navy personnel, basically males, right, which are those who are in the age of 20s, right? So they have to go through a stringent selection process and training, right? So stringent selection process and training is a very difficult kind of thing, as I said. So they are all having a training, right? Obviously, their training will be divided into different sections. Fine. So their basic training, which is of 6 months. After the basic training of 6 months, they will be screened out, right? Prior to again that 6 months training, initially they will be having a training of 3 days, which is of only physical fitness, right? If someone have see a kind of web series, for example, Code Yum, right, which is a story about induction of the first female commander in Indian Army. So if you consider when she entered to the institute at Belgaum, the commander of that particular, the instructor of that particular institute asked her to have the 100 push-ups. Right? So you will never expect. So when as soon as you enter into the pre-training, so your what we can consider expansion of your mental and physical stresses get started, right? So but after that physical the basic training, right, then you will be having the American and British forces which are assisted for the training, right? So It is around 3 years kinds of course, but this is specifically for 2 years with this, right? So what you get in this particular case? So training is including different kinds of operations, as I said. So you will be having a airborne operation. You will be having a combat diving. Right. Again, the combat is having a close combat kind of diving where you cannot use the uh, weapons, or you will be having very less probability of using the open. So at that time you have to uh, have the combat, right? Then counter terrorism, you have to many times have the counter terrorism. Even 26/11 of 2008, the Marcos have a operation in that particular case, right? Again, against the hijacking, they are always doing a kind of thing, right? They have to do some kind of anti-piracy operations, right? So many anti-piracy operations are going on currently in the Kashmir, right? Jointly by para ASEPs and by the Marcos. They are always being involved in direct actions, right? They can be involved in the direct actions, infiltration and exfiltration, right? So obviously these are the different things which you can consider. So tactics and the strategies, these are the two different words which you can always uh, uh, need to understand actually their meanings, right? Then some of the special reconnaissance, then some of the unconventional warfare, right? So these are some of the things which you can consider. These means a lot, right? Or these means complete is no, this is not absolute. These are some of the things, right? Some of them put here, in fact they are not public, right? Obviously some of the things. The next one you can consider, as I said, they are having a training selection process which is made up of two parts. Very first one, from Navy, allowing to join the course, right? Everyone, those who are nearby the age of 20 will be getting a chance of joining it, and they will undergo a 3-day physical fitness as well as the aptitude test. See, always it is always necessary to have your good kind of aptitude, right? Having only good physical is not helping you out there. Point. So more than 80% of the applications get screened out in these 3 days training, right? Or the 3 days physical fitness. So after these 3 days physical fitness training, you have to give the aptitude, right? You will wonder that, or you will come to know that you are always being okay. I think that point is in the next bullet, right? So you will be having you will be always deprived to have the sleep, right? And you are not allowed to sleep, and you will be asked to have a written test as like aptitude test, right? So you can, right, imagine what kind of these things. Then after screening out 80%, that's only 20% get screened in, right? If you get if you have selected 10,000 Navy personnel, so 2,000 will be remaining only for the next levels training. So further training, which is again a kind of screening process, which is known as Hell's Week. It is really hell, right? So in a Hell's Week, you will be then having a further kind of screening where you will be always involved in a very high degree of physical exercises, right? And not only the physical exercises, but you are always deprived of sleep, right? Probably you will be giving a sleep of 2 hours, 3 hours, right? Sometime you will be said that okay, आज खाने के बाद सो जाओ, सुबह 500 से you will be starting your work. It is completely wrong. You will be eating it, you will be going to bed, and all of a sudden around 12:30, around 3 p.m., 3 a.m., you will be getting the alarm, right? That means you have to fall in. But you have got the instructions of starting your day by 5 a.m. and you got the alarm at 3 a.m. or around 12:30, right? So you are deprived from sleep. And then after this process again, most of the people, right, or the most of the personnel get exit, right, that are called screened out. Those who get screened in, right, their actual training get begin, right? So they are actually sent for the, rather they are actually retained for the training. So overall, if you consider, more than 90% of the volunteers who have come for the 3 days training to the next week's or the health week's training, right, get disqualified, and only around 2%, right, roughly 2% get qualified and have a training called training of the Marcos. They will be placed as the Marcos. So if you consider what kind of training they will be getting here, again, different things which you can consider in this particular case, right? So here you will be having a Marcos who will be trained in every kind of weapon and instrument. Rather, I will say every kind of modern weapon and instrument, every kind of, right? So whatever coming modern in the market, they will be always having training of it. Many a times, apart from these modern weapons or instruments, they will be always having a training with the help of knives, right, crossbows, sniper rifles, right, handguns, assault rifles, submachine guns, or the bare hands. See, even without using any kind of instrument or weapon, you have to many a times do this. And most of the Marcos have to do such kind of actual job in the Operation Pawan, right, against Littes in Sri Lanka, 1887, right? Sorry, 1987. So there they have actually, they have dived their own weights, right, around, you can consider around 70 kgs on their back, and they have to dive through the water around 12 kilometers. So they have done actually in the Pawan. Then, being a divers, they can always reach to the hostile shores who are by swimming underwater, right? So you will be always comparing the fishes and the Marcos, right? So you will be always finding out one is a natural diver, and another is the converted diver, right? So man converted natural diver. So that kind of comparison you will be always coming across, right? So what kind of operations, what kind of responsibilities are always assigned to the Marcos, right? Some of these will be listing out. That doesn't mean these are only these operations or these responsibilities. Apart from these operations or responsibilities, in fact, I will call responsibilities, they will be having some other responsibilities. Now see, amphibious, right? So they have to always work as amphibians, right? So providing support to amphibious operations. They will be always working. That's the reason why we are calling all terrains. They will be always having a special surveillance as well as the reconnaissance operations, right? Which are the prime responsibilities of the Marcos. No doubt they are always getting involved in the direct actions or the operations. Then there are some of the clandestine operations which are inside hostile territories, right? And further it includes some operations or raids, right? Or just go and destroy the boat of the what we can consider boat of the enemies, right? Or the boat of the terror personnel, right? And obviously, next one, it is, I think, mentioned there about the counter terrorism. So you'll be always finding out these things, which are called the counter terrorism operations, right? Okay. Here I can tell you about a story of Mumbai attack, 2008 Mumbai attack, right? At that time there was a base at Aligarh. There was a base at Aligarh. I think they have carried out Operation Tornado. I think it will be listed in the I have listed it maybe in the next slide. So Operation Tornado about 26/11/2008, right? So Mumbai was 26 halla. Now see, if you consider this particular case, so how the delay, particularly bureaucratic delay, right, or bureaucratic indecision. So whatever, maybe 187 people have died there, right, or some of the police personnel have lost their lives, eminent personalities have lost their lives, right? even two SPGs have lost their lives, right? So that was great loss of India as far as training, right? Making one of the SPGs are concerned, right? NSGs are concerned, right? So that is the case which we can consider. Now, though there was a base at Alibag, right? You know how much far away Mumbai and Alibag. Because of indecision, the NSG commando troops have come from Delhi, right? They were also delayed by more than 3 hours, right? They would have reached by 2 a.m. They were in the aircraft by in the night, I think around 11, right? So they have to wait there more than 2.5 hours. So within that much time, they could have reached to the Bombay. But again, what you can consider. So if you consider, if the troops Marcos could have, which have been deployed on next day, they could have entered earlier, right? They so on the days of Army Day or performing a public demonstration. Here you can consider INS Vikramaditya. You will be having the glimpses of all the terrains. So even on the land, even at the sea and in the air, how they are actually being carrying out their tasks. So the demonstration by Marcos on board, which we can consider INS Vikramaditya, right? Then, so we have considered land, we have considered sea. Now, just consider the next one, that is called the air. Again, obviously, at the interface from here to the sea, right? So, this is an demonstration, an operational demonstration by Marcos. So, how they are getting down from the air to the water. Now, therein you can see, I think, individually, right, without any boat, and they are in the sea, you can consider that, right? So they are actually able to perform this kind of thing. आपल्याला गुळगावर पाण्यात गेलं म्हणलं तर आपण पन्नास विचार करू, इकडनं मगर येईल का, तिकडनं साप येईल का, राईट, इकडनं खेकडा येईल का, तिकडनं बिडूक उड्या अंगावर उडी घेईल का, राईट. एनिवे, you all are beyond all these things, but in general, right, through the mind, through the typical mindset of the citizens, most of the citizens, not everyone, right? So that you can consider this. Obviously, they have to always being associated in the operations, right? Many a times, someone get injured or sometimes they need halt. So at that time, we'll be always having a rescue operation. So this is a structure of the rescue boat for their physical exercises, right? Or the exercises during only rescue operations, but sometimes also they will be used for the operations. Again, if you consider actually in the civil, right? So some of the places, right? You always, sometimes the demonstrations are given to the particularly to the generations. So that, like you people, right? Obviously, some of you must be taking a kind of inspiration, kind of motivation. You must have, some of you must have started dreaming to be a Marcos, right? Dreaming to be a para. Right? So for that purpose also, these operations or the exercises are necessary. Fine. No, I think for a while it was interrupted. Right. I was aware of it. Anyway, so you can consider this particular point. So I was talking in between about the in the sea, how a single commando is destroying a kind of boat, a kind of ship, right, or a kind of, let's say, oil rig, right. So these are the things which we can consider in fine. So simulated destruction of an oil rig in the Marcos. Now you can see far away, right? It is considered as a remote place where you will be always going in, right? You have to dive to there. You have to keep your ambush, and you have to always by taking your 100% protection, come back, right? So these are the some of the things which you will be always considering in the particular cases. So I was talking about the Operation Pawan, right? So in this particular case, if you consider, so Operation Pawan was jointly carried out by the Indian Army, and in fact, it was supported by Marcos as well, right? So yeah, exactly, it was happened in between in the month of October 1987, right? To be precise, it was from 11th of October to 25th of October. Exactly 15 days have been spent or required to carry out this one. So what had happened there uh, during 87, right? I think at that time the Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi and their Liberation Tigers of Tamil Litte. So there were some of the disputes in between these two, right, which have been taken, and that was not settling down. Fine. So Sri Lankan government had asked about Sri Lankan government had asked to our Prime Minister to look into this and make them free from littes, these kinds of arguments or the assaults, right? So the then Indian force, right? They have allowed this us to take over or to control the Jaffna. So the location of this Pawan operation Pawan was Jaffna. Right? You must have, if you have seen the movie Trust Cafe, so there you must have heard about this particular place. You must have a kind of seen what it would be. Right? So Jaffna was having the Prabhakaran's base. Right? Prabhakaran, the latest leader we can consider in. Right? So the Tamil Tigers, known as Liberation Tigers of Tamil Elam. So they have enforced the disarmament of they were armored, and ICTF, that is IPKF, that is Indian Peacekeeping Force, right? Then that group was named, and that was actually done by the Marcos. So I think Marcos' first operation is this one, right? And then they have to disarmament. Littes have to disarmament. त्यांच्याकडे जी सगळी जी काही आधुनिक शस्त्रास्त्र आहेत ती त्यांच्यापासून काढून घ्यायची होती. They have to be merged, or they have to be ready for the discussions. Right? That was the kind of thing which is the actual importance of this particular operation. Now, Tamil Tigers had fought to establish their Tamil homeland, right, which must be separate from the Sri Lanka. right, to the northern and eastern portion of the Tamil Eelam, which you can consider in. And for that, the efforts were led in a series of armed conflicts with Sri Lankan military, and it was started from 1980s, right? That was the background which you can consider in. So they had a considerable pressure, right, on the from Tamil nationals